Today, the topic of our discussion is on a very important topic, that is your acute pancreatitis. So, first, what do you understand by pancreatitis? Uh, from the definition only, you can understand that pancreatitis, it is the inflammation of the pancreas. Okay, it's the inflammation of the pancreas. I'll just show you a picture. Yes, you can see this is your stomach, this is your duodenum. Okay, and this is your pancreas. Okay, this is your pancreas. This is your normal pancreas. Let us look at this acute pancreatitis. So what has happened here is that this pancreas, you can see it has become inflamed. Okay, so acute pancreatitis, it is the sudden inflammation of the pancreas. This inflammation, it can be mild or it can also be life-threatening, right? So this is what you understand by acute pancreatitis. Next, let us look into the causes of acute pancreatitis. Talking about the causes of acute pancreatitis, there can be many causes of acute pancreatitis, but the most common is alcohol ingestion, either acute or and chronic. Both of them can cause acute pancreatitis. Biliary calculus, the presence of stones in the biliary duct. Okay, so biliary calculus, this can cause acute pancreatitis. Post-operative, immediately after a major OT, like mainly the abdominal or any non-abdominal OTs. Okay, or ERCP. Okay, post ERCP procedure, post ERCP procedure also patient can develop acute pancreatitis. If there is any trauma to abdomen, okay, certain metabolic conditions can cause acute pancreatitis, like if there is a renal failure, okay, or just after renal transplantation. Okay, if the patient is having excess amount of triglycerides, is very common. Okay, patient is having excess amount of triglycerides, or patient is having hypercalcemia, excess calcium, hypercalcemia, or acute fatty liver of pregnancy. Okay, so in pregnancy, if the patient develops acute fatty liver, that can also cause acute pancreatitis, right? What else? It can be caused by penetrating peptic ulcer. Okay, ulcers, peptic ulcers can cause it. Certain connective tissue diseases like SLE, polyarteritis nodosa, okay, these can cause. Certain infections can also predispose to acute pancreatitis. Which infections can cause acute pancreatitis? Like hepatitis, viral hepatitis. Okay, then mumps, roundworm, mycoplasma. Okay, all those infections can also cause acute pancreatitis. Then certain drugs, this is very important, there's a list of drugs which can cause acute pancreatitis. It can be, there are many drugs, I'll just make a list of those drugs after this. So, then you have got hereditary pancreatitis. Without any cause, just a hereditary pancreatitis is also seen. Okay. So drugs, let me just make a list of the drugs which can cause acute pancreatitis. So pancreatitis can be caused by drugs like sulfonamides. Okay. Those who take, estrogen, progesterone for a long duration, mainly the estrogen component. Okay, the estrogen component. Okay, so that can cause acute pancreatitis. Then you have got drugs like, those who take diuretics for high BP and all, those who take diuretic drugs like thiazides, or those who take drugs like furosemide. Both of them can cause acute pancreatitis. Then you have got other drugs like those anti-epileptic drugs, valproic acid. This can also cause. Then you have got steroids, corticosteroids. Okay, then you have got ACE inhibitors. This is also taken for those who have high blood pressure and all. So these drugs, they can cause acute pancreatitis. Okay, they can predispose to acute pancreatitis, right? So what actually happens in acute pancreatitis, as I had just shown you in the picture, the pancreas, they become inflamed. Okay, there occurs edematous pancreatitis. Okay, edematous pancreatitis. Mainly it is of two types. One is edematous pancreatitis. In this edematous, usually there is a enlargement of the pancreas, but there is no necrosis. Okay. Another is your necrotizing pancreatitis. In this necrotizing pancreatitis, there is presence of tissue necrosis along with the edema. Okay, so along with the other factors, there is the presence of the pancreas to become necrotized. It is necrotizing pancreatitis. Okay, and one more you have got, that is your hemorrhagic pancreatitis. Right, first is edematous pancreatitis. In edematous, just the pancreas to become enlarged, but there is lack of any necrosis. In necrotizing pancreatitis, there occurs necrosis. Okay, yeah, there is presence of tissue necrosis. And in hemorrhagic, then next you have got the hemorrhagic pancreatitis. So name itself, you can understand, in case of hemorrhagic pancreatitis, what is happening, there will occur bleeding inside the pancreas. It's actually a sequelae of acute pancreatitis. Okay, next let us see the symptoms. So what is the main symptom of pancreatitis? All of you must be knowing the main symptom of acute pancreatitis is pain. Pain. What type of pain? What is the type of pain? It can be mild to severe. Okay, and what is the onset of pain? Is it gradual or sudden? It is sudden onset pain. Since we are talking about acute pancreatitis here, it is suddenly the pain, there will be sudden pain, and slowly the pain will increase in severity. Okay, there will be a gradual increase in the severity. And where is this pain located? What is the location of this pain? The location of this pain is mainly in the epigastric region. Okay, it will start in the epigastric region, but remember one thing, one very typical feature of the pain of pancreatitis is that it starts in the epigastric region, and then this pain, it radiates to the back. Through the abdomen, it radiates to the back. The radiation of this pain is very important, because epigastric pain can be due to many other reasons also. Radiation to back is a very typical thing which you can find in case of acute pancreatitis. Okay, and one more thing, the patient will say you that he gets a relief if he sits up and leans forward. Okay, so the patient will get a partial relief if he sits and leans forward. Okay, because these things you ask the patient, isn't it? Say, what are the relieving factors, aggravating factors? Okay, what, is there anything which the patient does, so that his pain gets relieved? So this is what the patient is going to say. When he leans forwards, then the pain gets relieved. Along with this pain, what is the other anything else the patient presents with? Yes, nausea, vomiting is again very common in case of acute pancreatitis. Right? Okay. These are symptoms the patient is going to present to you with. And what are you going to examine for? What are you going to examine in the patient? You're going to see for the fever, usually low grade fever. Then you are going to see the pulse rate, heart rate, respiratory rate. Okay, so you're going to check all these things. So in the heart rate, you will find that the heart rate has increased, there is tachycardia. Okay, respiratory rate has also increased, there is tachypnea. Okay, this tachypnea occurs if there has also occurred inflammation in lungs and pleural effusion. What else? You look for the blood pressure. What will happen? What will you see the blood pressure? That you'll find that there is a hypotension, decrease in the blood pressure, hypotension. But again, remember, hypotension occurs if there has occurred the exudation of plasma in the peritoneal cavity. Okay, or if there has occurred vasodilation because of the kinins released. So these are going to cause hypotension. Okay, and what else? Next, when you're going to palpate the abdomen, you're going to find abdominal tenderness and distension. Okay, you'll find abdominal tenderness. The patient will complain of abdominal tenderness when you start palpating the abdomen, and you'll also find that the patient has developed abdominal distension. Okay, next, when you start auscultating the lungs, what are you going to find? Often what happens in acute pancreatitis, the lungs also get affected. There occurs inflammation in lungs, there occurs pleural effusion in the lungs. So if such things occur, then you are going to get basal crepitations in the lungs. Okay, basal crepitations. Okay, and you can also get the pleural effusion. You'll get the features of pleural effusion if the lungs are also involved. Clear? Next, what else signs are you going to look for? You're going to examine the skin properly, because in not in all cases, but only if the patient has developed necrotizing pancreatitis, then you will find Cullen's sign and Turner's sign. I'll show you what is Cullen's sign and Turner's sign. But the most common ones I'm telling you, first you will find erythematous skin nodules. Because in the skin you'll find like this red nodules, the red nodules on the skin. This is mainly because of the fat necrosis. Then I'll show you what is exactly this Cullen's sign and yes. So you will find this somewhat bluish discoloration around the umbilicus. Okay, so this is what is called as Cullen's sign, right? And you'll also find what is this gray Turner sign. What is Turner's sign? Turner's sign. Can you see this? This bluish discoloration, which is mainly in the flanks. Okay, and this occurs again. I'm telling you, it mainly is seen in case of necrotizing pancreatitis when there occurs hemoperitoneum. Okay, and in these cases, there occurs this great Turner sign. It's not necessary that all cases of acute pancreatitis will develop these two signs, but you might find these signs, the Cullen sign and the Turner sign. Clear? Okay. Now, next you saw what can be the causes. I told you about the symptoms, the signs. Next, let us go to the investigations. What are the investigations which we are going to perform? So let us talk about the investigations. So investigations, remember, we see for the serum amylase, serum lipase levels. Okay, so serum, remember, out of the serum amylase and serum serum lipase, this is more preferable for diagnosis. Okay, this is more specific than that of amylase. So anyhow, we look for both of these, amylase as well as lipase. So amylase, its levels, that increase for the initial 24 hours, and then after 3 to 5 days, it again comes down to normal. Okay, and if after pancreatitis, often what happens after a patient gets an attack of acute pancreatitis, sometimes there is the formation of pancreatic abscess. Okay, there is the formation of abscess in the pancreas, or there is a pseudo tumor formation. So in those cases, the serum amylase levels, that remains elevated instead of coming down to normal. Okay, now the problem with serum amylase and lipase is that these two tests are not very specific, because there are some other conditions also which can cause a rise in serum amylase levels, like ectopic pregnancy, okay, pancreatic carcinoma, simple infectious, some simple infectious diseases like mumps that can also cause an increase in serum amylase levels. Okay, mesenteric ischemia, there is perforation of peptic ulcer. So because of this reason, it is not very specific, but however, in pancreatitis, acute pancreatitis, levels increase for the initial 24 hours. Okay, and then gradually it comes down to normal. Next, come to the serum lipase. Serum lipase, it is more specific as compared to that of amylase. Okay, because lipase, it takes a longer time to clear from the blood. Okay, therefore, we can rely on this parameter more as compared to the amylase, right? So what else tests we do? We do the total leukocyte count. We do the blood glucose levels, platelet counts, okay, blood urea, blood calcium levels, serum calcium levels, okay. We look for the serum calcium levels. We look for the triglyceride levels, very important, because just now I told you, increased triglycerides can also cause pancreatitis, electrolyte levels. So these are some other investigations which are done. Then what else is done? Same. We also do plain X-ray, X-ray of abdomen. Okay, so this X-ray of abdomen, why it is done? Because it helps in differentiating, it helps in excluding other causes, because in perforation, acute abdominal pain, peptic ulcer, if there is any perforation, or if there is intestinal perforation, okay, so peptic ulcer, it has caused perforation, or any other cause of intestinal perforation, okay, so that you can clearly see in this extra abdomen. So to exclude those other causes of acute abdominal pain, we perform the extra abdomen, as well as if there is any calcification in the pancreas, okay, in chronic pancreatitis, that you can see in extra abdomen, okay, or if there is formation of any abscess, okay, so then you can see this X-ray, this will show the gas shadows, the extraluminal gas shadows in the pancreatic area. Clear? And by seeing these different gas shadows and all in the extra abdomen, you can get an idea about the different other causes of acute abdominal pain, or whether any other complication has occurred because of acute pancreatitis. Some other more specific investigation: CT scan abdomen. Here you can clearly see the swollen pancreas. Ultrasonography of abdomen. This also you can clearly see the gallbladder. You can see the biliary tree. And in 60% cases, it can also detect acute pancreatitis. MRI abdomen, this has got a greater sensitivity as compared to that of CT scan abdomen. This is the most sensitive one. Okay, and it can clearly detect if any necrosis has occurred. As we know, we really fear the pancreatic necrosis, isn't it? If there occurs pancreatic necrosis, then the prognosis is not very good. So pancreatic necrosis can be detected very well by MRI. Right? So these are the different investigations. There's some blood tests, some X-ray, CT scan, USG, abdomen, MRI. Okay, so these are certain tests, investigations which are done to confirm acute pancreatitis. Clear? So how do we make the diagnosis? Remember, at least, I'll just tell you 3 criteria, out of which at least 2 of the following criteria, if it is present, then we will confirm it is a case of acute pancreatitis. First is your abdominal pain. Typical abdominal pain, as I told you, epigastric pain radiating to back. Second is if the serum amylase or the lipase levels are more than equal to 3 times the upper normal limit. The upper normal limit, if it is more than 3 times the upper normal limit. Okay, and the third criteria is if you can find the findings of acute pancreatitis on CT scan. Out of these 3, if any 2 criteria is fulfilled, at least 2 criteria is fulfilled, then we say it is a case of acute pancreatitis. If all the 3 are fulfilled, then you can be more sure about it. Okay, next let us talk about the prognostic features. What do you understand prognostic features? Prognostic features means what is the degree of risk associated. Okay, so for that prognostic features, we have got a criteria which is called as Ranson's criteria. Ranson's criteria, it tells us what is the degree of mortality. Okay, how risk is the condition. Ranson's criteria. Okay, so let us look at this Ranson's criteria. Actually, the main purpose of this Ranson's criteria, remember, it's a prognostic feature. It tells us how much risk is associated. Okay, so with the episode of acute pancreatitis, it has affected the patient. So see each, like these are all the risk factors. Okay, so these are all the risk factors. If the age is more than 55 years, if the leukocyte count is more than 6,000, if the blood sugar is high, more than 200, serum LDH levels is more than 400, serum AST levels is more than 250. Right, at admission, if the patient is having these features, then they come under the high risk. And remember, each feature, okay, so each thing will be given one point. I'll just tell you how to calculate this Ranson's criteria. So age more than 55 years, like suppose out of these 5 things, the patient is having 3, like age is more than 55 years and sorry, not 555, age more than 55 years and rest everything is normal. Serum LDH is more than 400. So here you will give the patient 2 points. Okay, so I'll tell you what is this 2 points and 1 point, how do we ultimately calculate it. So at admission, these things, during the initial 48 hours, during the hospital admission, after hospital admission, initial 48 hours, if his hematocrit is falling by more than 10% of the baseline, fluid sequestration more than 4 liters, if his calcium levels are less, like it is less than 8 mg per dl, if his oxygen levels are less, hypoxemia, PaO2 is less than 60 millimeters mercury, if there is a rise in his blood urea levels, okay, more than 10 mg per dl after administering the IV fluids, or if the patient's albumin levels have decreased. These are all the risk factors. Okay, there is no space here if I've written above. If the albumin levels have decreased, if the patient has developed hypoalbuminemia, how much less than 3.2 mg per dl. So if these features are present, okay, so they all come under the high risk and each feature will be given 1 point. Then how are we going to calculate? Remember, if the points come out to be from 0 to 2, means the risk of mortality is only 2%. Okay. If the points total, it comes out 3 to 4 criteria. Okay, the mortality, that is around 15%. 5 to 6 criteria, the mortality is around 40%. And if it is more than 6, then the mortality is around 100%. Okay, so this is how we calculate it. Clear? So Ranson's criteria. Right, so these are the different criterias. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Nearly 11 criterias, 11 parameters are there. So accordingly, each parameter is given one point, and accordingly we calculate the mortality risk. Okay. So again, repeat to you, at admission, the age, leukocyte count, blood sugar, serum LDH, and the AST levels are seen. Initial 48 hours, we look into the hematocrit values, fluid sequestration, calcium levels, the oxygen levels, PO2 levels, blood urea, and the albumin levels. Okay, so if there is a fall in hematocrit, or if there's a decreased calcium, decreased oxygen, PO2, increase in blood urea, or there is a decrease in the albumin levels, these all are the risk factors. Okay, accordingly, we calculate the scoring, the Ranson's criteria score. Clear. Now, what can be the complications? What are the complications of pancreatitis? Like after pancreatitis, what can be the complications of acute pancreatitis? Let us look at the different complications. Complications, first you can see the local complications and the systemic complications. It's not necessary that all the acute pancreatitis patients will develop complications, but these can happen in the patient. Okay. So first let us look into the simple ones. I have already discussed these. There can occur necrosis. Okay, so there can occur necrosis. There can occur the formation of cyst, pseudocyst formation. There can be abscess formation. There can be ascites. Okay. There can be hemorrhage in the peritoneum, intraperitoneal hemorrhage. They can develop jaundice or intestinal obstruction. These are the local complications. Systemic complications, the patient can go into shock. Okay, there can be severe fall in blood pressure. There can be hypovolemic shock, multiple organ failure, disseminated intravascular coagulation. Okay, apart from this, there can be fat necrosis, failure of different organs like renal failure. There can occur pleural effusion. Okay, so these are the different systemic complications which can develop in the patient, right? I repeat once more, local, which is affecting mainly the pancreas, like necrosis, abscess, cyst formation, in the pancreatic ascites. Okay, in the peritoneum, there is hemorrhage, obstructive jaundice, and systemic. There can be shock, there can be multiple organ failure, renal failure, pleural effusion, okay, fat necrosis. So these are the different complications which can develop with after acute pancreatitis. Then next come to the treatment. Remember, treatment, very important, that initially when the patient presents with acute pancreatitis, you have to keep the patient nil orally. They are not supposed to give him anything by the oral route. Okay, and slowly you will start feeding, enteral feeding within 2 to 3 days. If the patient is able to take by mouth, it's fine. Otherwise, you can introduce a nasogastric tube. Okay, a nasogastric or a nasojejunal tube, and you can feed the patient. Okay, again, to maintain the intravascular volume, you need to give the patient IV fluids. IV fluid is very important. Patient is having acute pain, so you're going to control the pain by giving analgesics. What else are you going to do? Obviously, you have to monitor the pulse. Okay, you have to monitor the blood pressure. Okay, you have to monitor what else? The urine output, blood glucose, calcium. All these things need to be monitored. Glucose monitoring is also very much important here. Okay, calcium monitoring, PaO2, oxygen, carbon dioxide, blood gases monitoring is also very important. Okay, then in severe cases, we also start the patient on antibiotics, prophylactic antibiotics. So the most common antibiotics given in severe cases is your carbapenems. Okay, carbapenems or ceftazidime. These are some of the antibiotics which is given prophylactically in patients. Okay, apart from this, you can also give the patients PPIs, proton pump inhibitors, okay, pantoprazole, that group of drugs. Okay, you can give the patient, glucagon, octreotide, some other drugs which is also given to the patient. Okay, so this is how you manage it medically, and surgery is not required in all cases. It is required only if the pancreas they become necrosed and it becomes infected. Okay, so if the pancreas they become infected and the pancreas they become necrosed, infected pancreatic necrosis, in these cases we need to go for surgery. Okay, or if any of the complications develop, okay, so where you need surgical intervention. Right now, if the patient, you can clearly see that the patient has got a gallstone, a stone in the gallbladder, which is causing the acute pancreatitis, we usually go for this ERCP procedure. This is performed, okay, so within the first 36 to 48 hours to remove these stones. Okay, or if this patient has developed acute biliary pancreatitis, we can also remove the gallbladder. Okay, we carry out cholecystectomy. Clear? So these are some of the treatments. So first you go for medical treatment. Medical treatment usually, as you saw just now, nothing much is done. We're just going to stop giving anything by mouth initial 1 to 2 days, and then we'll start feeding him. Okay, either by mouth or by using a nasogastric tube. We give the patient IV fluids. We give the patient analgesics. Okay, we give him certain antibiotics. If complications develop, then we can think about surgery. Or you can find any known cause, like you can clearly see the stones in the gallbladder. Okay, then you can go for ERCP, cholecystectomy. If there is acute biliary pancreatitis. Okay, so this is the main treatment of acute pancreatitis. Next, let us talk about chronic pancreatitis. So what do you understand by chronic pancreatitis? Chronic pancreatitis, right from the name only you can understand that there is a chronic inflammation of the pancreas. Right, that has occurred the chronic inflammation of the pancreas, and because of this chronic inflammation, there has also occurred fibrosis in the pancreas. Okay, so what happens in these patients of chronic pancreatitis is that instead of acute pancreatitis where there was a sudden onset of pain, in chronic pancreatitis, these patients, they suffer from recurrent pain. And as you know, in these pancreas, okay, so we have got the, the beta cells and, the different the cells which is going to secrete the insulin. The insulin secreting cells, they are present in these pancreas. And since this pancreas, they become inflamed and fibrosed, therefore there occurs endocrine deficiency in these patients. Diabetes mellitus is very common in the patients of chronic pancreatitis. Right? As well as, this pancreas, they release a number of enzymes which is necessary for the digestion of food. Okay, so therefore, since these enzymes released from the pancreas are also affected, therefore they can also occur exocrine deficiency and it can cause malabsorption. Okay, so the insulin secreting cells, okay, so they are damaged. It can cause diabetes mellitus. The enzyme secreted from the pancreas that is hampered, it will cause malabsorption. So these are the features which the patient, you'll see in the patients of chronic pancreatitis. Okay, now what are the causes? What is the cause of this chronic pancreatitis? Again, if the patient is taking alcohol, chronic alcohol ingestion, or due to stones in the gallbladder, cholelithiasis. If the patient is a chronic smoker, cigarette smoke. Again here, certain drugs can also cause, like patients who are taking anti-epileptic drugs like valproic acid, valproate, or if the patient is on estrogens for a long time. And as I had told you, if the patient is taking diuretics like thiazide diuretics, so all these can cause chronic pancreatitis. Okay, then what, anything else? Yes, many other reasons also there. If the patient has got some autoimmune diseases like primary biliary cholangitis, autoimmune diseases, or autoimmune pancreatitis. Certain autoimmune diseases can also predispose to chronic pancreatitis. Okay. Yes, anything else? Yes, we have got some more causes also. Chronic kidney disease. If the patient is having chronic kidney disease for a long time, that can also cause chronic pancreatitis. If his calcium levels are elevated, hypercalcemia, this can also cause chronic. If his lipid levels are elevated, hyperlipidemia, the lipid levels are elevated, hyperlipidemia, that can also cause HIV infection. And certain cases are familial, hereditary or familial, and there are certain conditions which don't have any known cause. It is idiopathic. There is no known cause. Okay, so these are the different causes of chronic pancreatitis. Okay, so alcohol, stones, okay, certain autoimmune diseases, chronic kidney disease, certain drugs, calcemia, hyperlipidemia, HIV infections, familial, idiopathic. Clear? Okay. Next, let us see what are the. I told you about the this thing, the causes. Okay. Next, what is the clinical features? So these patients, as I told you, again, pain is the main feature of any type of pancreatitis. So here also the patient has got here the patient has got acute recurrent pain. Okay, so and this pain can be continuous pain or it can be intermittent pain. The same type of pain I told you, in the epigastric area, it will start and it is going to radiate to the back. Okay, and this pain, if the patient consumes any heavy meals, okay, or if the patient consumes alcohol, then this pain, it gets even more aggravated. Okay, these patients of chronic pancreatitis can develop some complications, like they can develop cysts, pseudocyst formation. Pancreas, they can develop pseudocyst, okay, or they can develop some obstruction of adjacent organs. Okay, and what else I had told you right in the beginning? Yes, endocrine failure. Because of endocrine failure, they can develop diabetes mellitus. Okay, because of exocrine deficiency, enzymes deficiency, there can be malabsorption. And some patients can also develop obstruction of the common bile duct. Common bile duct obstruction. Common bile duct obstruction can also occur. Okay. Right. So next, let us come to the investigations. So what are the investigations which you are going to do here? Here also we are going to do the same investigations. Here also we go for the serum amylase lipase levels. But remember, in chronic pancreatitis, serum amylase lipase levels are usually normal. Okay, then we check the lipid profile of the patients. There can be increased excess amount of lipids, hyperlipidemia, triglycerides increased, okay, or calcium levels are also checked, right? And x-ray, same things are done. A plain x-ray of abdomen is there. In some certain cases there occurs, you can see calcification of the pancreas. Okay, then we do ultrasonography of abdomen, CT scan of abdomen. In these, we can find whether what is the condition of the pancreas, whether there has occurred any atrophy, whether there has occurred any calcification, okay, whether there has occurred any, as I told you, there can be obstruction, there can be stricture of the bile duct. If such things have occurred, you can clearly see it in ultrasonography or in CT scan. Dilatation of the bile duct. Okay, so all these things can be seen here. Okay. Then to clearly see the pancreatic ducts. Okay, the pancreatic ducts, we can do carry out the ERCP procedure. It clearly shows, it's very clearly, it can demonstrate the pancreatic ducts. Then we can, instead of ERCP, we can also go for a magnetic resonance cholangiopancreatography. That is MRCP can also be done instead of ERCP. So gives a clear view of the pancreatic ducts. Clear? Okay. Apart from this, we can also carry out certain pancreatic function tests. Like you have heard about liver function test, kidney function test. There's something which is called as pancreatic function tests. In the pancreatic function tests, there are certain things which we check for. That is, we check for the secretin or cholecystokinin stimulation test. Secretin or cholecystokinin stimulation test. Okay. What else we see? We look for the 24 hours fecal fat. Okay, and what else we do? We go for the oral glucose tolerance test, OGTT. Okay, so we look for the 24-hour fecal fat, the OGTT, the glucose tolerance test. We look for these secretin and cholecystokinin stimulation tests. So these all come under the pancreatic function test. Clear? So these are the different investigations which is done in patients of chronic pancreatitis. Okay, then what is the treatment? Obviously, the treatment, you have to stop alcohol. Okay, stop alcohol, and you have to stop foods which is rich in triglycerides, or at least reduce. Okay, diet rich in right. So any triglyceride, lipids. Okay, so you have to limit foods which is oily foods, has to be limited. Right? And what else? Pancreatic enzymes, okay, so particularly lipase, pancreatic lipase. These are available for oral consumption. Okay, so pancreatic lipase enzymes, mainly lipase. Okay, so this is to be taken before each meal. So before each meal, you have to be taken a tablet or capsule of this pancreatic lipase, this enzyme lipase. It is available in the form of tablets and capsules, 20,000 to 75,000 units. This is to be taken before each meal. Okay. What else? They also prescribed, the pantoprazole and rabeprazole, or your H2 antagonists like ranitidine, famotidine. Okay, so these are given. Now, what is the role of this in chronic pancreatitis? Remember these, this one, the PPIs and H2 antagonists, they decrease the synthesis, the release of gastric acid, isn't it? So what role it has got in pancreatitis then? In pancreatitis, remember, these gastric acid, they cause the inactivation of pancreatic enzymes. Okay, to prevent the inactivation of pancreatic enzymes, we give this PPI and H2 antagonists. Okay, if the patient has got pain, too much pain, then we can give him some NSAIDs, some painkillers for pain, or we can give him some opioids if the pain is too much. Okay, if the patient has got autoimmune, I just told you, certain autoimmune pancreatitis, in this case of autoimmune pancreatitis, steroids are prescribed. Okay, then accordingly, if the patient has got developed diabetes, we are going to give the treatment for diabetes, treat diabetes mellitus. Okay, and in those patients, where these pancreatic ducts have been obstructed, there has occurred obstruction of the pancreatic ducts, in those cases we do endoscopic therapy. Endoscopic therapy is done in those patients whose pancreatic ducts are obstructed to allow this duct drainage. Right, and accordingly, if the patient has developed complications like pseudocyst or bile duct obstruction, accordingly we are going to treat the complications. Whatever complications has developed, we are going to treat the complications accordingly. Okay. Now, if the patient is suffering from continuous pain, if it is a continuous pain, you are giving NSAIDs, you're giving opioids, still the pain is not getting controlled, then what we do is that we just remove the pancreas. That is what is called as your pancreatectomy. We are going to remove the pancreas. If it is the pain is not at all going, then we are going to remove the pancreas. But if we remove the pancreas, one problem is that the islet cells, in the pancreas, which is responsible for the synthesis of insulin, we need that. So we remove the pancreas, and what we do is that we carry out the islet cell autotransplantation. only the islet cells, okay, so they are transplanted. Okay, there is islet cell autotransplantation, and we remove the pancreas. This is the last resort if nothing else is working. Clear? So what did I say in the treatment? Alcohol. You have to avoid alcohol, avoid any oily and food which is rich in fats. Okay, and you're supposed to take lipase before every meal. PPI-H2 antagonist, NSAIDs, autoimmune pancreatitis, we give steroids. If the patient has developed diabetes, treat accordingly. Okay, endoscopic therapy is required in those cases where the pancreatic ducts are blocked. If the patient has developed any complications, then treat accordingly. Okay, so, and last resort, if nothing else is working, just go for pancreatectomy with islet cell autotransplantation. Clear? So this is important, what you understand by chronic pancreatitis. Okay, then last, I just want to tell you a little bit about something which is called as tropical pancreatitis. This I'm talking typically because we are staying in a tropical country. Tropical pancreatitis. This is a different type of, like, it is a pancreatitis only, but this pancreatitis is not related to alcohol intake. And this type of pancreatitis is mainly seen in the young population. It's a juvenile population form of, acute pancreatitis. It mainly affects the young people, generally the males. Okay, and even the etiology is not very much confirmed. Okay, that this is the cause. Okay, it can be familial, it can be due to different infections. So tropical pancreatitis, I just want to tell you a little bit about it. It is mainly seen in the tropical countries. It mainly affects the young males. In India, it is mainly seen in the southern states. Okay, and etiology is not confirmed that yes, this is the etiology. It is, remember, this is not related to alcohol intake. Okay, so it is seen that there are certain etiology which has been postulated, not very much confirmed. Malnutrition, etiology means the causes. Okay, it can be due to malnutrition or oxidant stress, certain infections, or it can be familial. Some of the etiology which has been postulated but not confirmed. Okay, so what happens? What is the clinical features in this tropical pancreatitis? See, tropical pancreatitis, this has got accelerated course, tropical pancreatitis. Okay, so what is the typical feature of tropical pancreatitis? Here the patient presents with recurrent abdominal pain, almost the same feature. Okay, the patient presents with recurrent abdominal pain, and this typical pain, radiating to the back, and the pain, it gets precipitated if the patient takes heavy meals. Okay, so usually along with this pain, you can find some other features in the patient, like usually these patients, they are malnourished, this malnutrition, parotid glands are enlarged. Okay, there is abdominal distension, and lips are usually the lips, you will find a peculiar cyanosis of the lips, cyanotic, a bluish discoloration of the lips. Okay, so these patients, there are certain features which is commonly seen in these patients of tropical pancreatitis. You'll get a cyanotic, typical, a peculiar cyanotic hue on the lips. Okay, abdominal distension, malnutrition, and enlarged parotid glands. So this is a typical thing which you can see in case of this tropical pancreatitis. Okay, so here also you will find the same things, like there will be malabsorption because of exocrine deficiency. If the patient develops endocrine deficiency, diabetes mellitus, due to the not functioning, because in the pancreas, as I told you, you've got the islet cells, okay, which synthesize insulin. So the same thing which we saw earlier also, there can be malabsorption, there can be diabetes mellitus. Those things can also occur in tropical pancreatitis. Okay, investigations, same investigations, we do the x-ray and we do the ultrasound of the abdomen. Okay, So often in tropical pancreatitis, it occurs because of the stones, the calculi, and treatment again, the same treatment as that of chronic pancreatitis. And here, since the patients, as I told you, they develop malabsorption and diabetes mellitus, often we require to give the patient insulin. Okay, so insulin is often required in these patients. So this is all about your different types of pancreatitis. Clear? I told you details about acute pancreatitis, I told you about chronic pancreatitis, and I told you briefly about this tropical pancreatitis.